It's such a wonderful feeling. When we started Hacker Halted many years ago, I remember the room had barely 50 people. And take a look around you today. Completely packed. So give yourself a round of applause. Thank you very much. I wanted to start by talking about our community, about our industry. And my talk is entitled, From Hackers to Professional, the Evolution of an Industry. And I'll tell you why this topic is very apt and why this is a very important discussion that we need to have as an industry. All cards on the table. The truth of the matter is, our industry is in a terrible state. We have severe challenges. And if you look at the data around you, you'd realize that cybercrime is going to cost us, the worldwide population, $6 trillion by the year 2021. Now, as cybersecurity professionals, we go to multiple conferences, we listen to multiple webcasts, we get multiple podcasts, we get all sorts of blogs, and we're used to these numbers. 6 trillion, yeah, okay, 6 trillion. No big deal. But if you thought about it, what does $6 trillion really mean? $6 trillion is Google, is Apple, is Microsoft put together, multiplied 15 times. Now if you thought about it, in that perspective, you'd realize that, oh my God, right? Steve Jobs is a genius. The iPhone invention, the iPad invention, all the eyes invention. They're a huge company. People line up miles to get their phones. People camp the night before. But they're just one tiny part of the cybercrime industry. Then think about Bill Gates and all that he did for Microsoft. Then take a look at Google, Sergey Brin, Larry Page. Now put all of that together, put all that invention together, multiply that 15 times. That's the cybercrime industry. So guys, the question we would ask ourselves is, something's wrong. Because guess what? We've been attending conferences forever. We've been discussing as a community how to deal with this issue forever. This is not something new. We have gone through certifications, we have gone through technology advancements, we have got increased cybersecurity budgets, we have got increased equipments, we have got increased budgets, we have a new role, Chief Information Security Officer. And yet, we're on the wrong side of the curve. So the question that we have to ask ourselves as a security industry, as a security community, is why? What have we done that is not right? Or if we cannot solve the problem, at least what can we do to make this slightly better? And I hope that in my talk, I will try to influence you on a thought process that at least I think and EC Council thinks would be a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, I don't have a solution either, but I think that we have a panacea that will help, if not eradicate, eliminate part of the problem. So I take you back to 2001, the year I incorporated EC Council. After 9/11 attacks, cybersecurity became fresh to my mind. Bear in mind, I'm a British trained lawyer, I'm an attorney, I'm a barrister by profession, but IT was always my thing. But I came from a typical Gujarati family, an Indian family from west of India, and they gave me 3 professions: doctor, lawyer, engineer. And I said, what about hacking? They go like, you want to go to jail? So in 2001, I remember very clearly looking at the horrible, horrendous attacks, 9/11, looking at CNN, and I asked myself a question. What will future attacks look like? 2001. Now, to us today, it might seem very easy. Yeah, Jay, oh, what's the big deal? But reverse 2001, Google did not exist. I used Excite and Lycos. Remember those? All of those that laughed, you're very old like me. The new guys have no idea. Excite? Like, I'm not excited. What are you talking about, Jay? I Google. So in 2001, the concept of ethical hacking was at its infancy. Now, yes, I didn't coin the word ethical hacker. It already existed in the 60s in some Department of Defense division. But I'll tell you something. Not until EC Council, ethical hacking was not mainstream. There were no jobs for ethical hackers. There were no titles for ethical hackers. It was when certified ethical hacker was created that the industry first went against and said, Jay, you're such a moron. What a stupid idea. You want to create hackers and you think that's going to save the world. But look where we've come as an industry. Certified ethical hacker and the ethical hacking industry is now a norm. Now when you go and talk to a CIO of a large organization, they would say, yes, we hire ethical hackers, and they're proud about it. I remember I could not get a meeting at the Pentagon, early on in the days. And now the Pentagon mandates ethical hacking as a skill within its framework. But a lot of other things have changed. If you look at the attack vectors, if you look at the endpoints that we had in 2001, it was a fairly, shall I say, simplified network. And that has really changed over time. So when we talk about $6 trillion, we would realize that from 2001 till now, there's been a massive explosion. The attack surface has exploded. And it's not just that. In the last 15 years, that explosion has become bigger and bigger. Networks have become extremely complex. And we're talking about cloud now. Every time there's an innovation, cloud as a solution, well, we got to talk of cloud security. You talk of mobility, mobile security. You talk of Internet of Things, IoT, IoT security. So as an industry, just bear in mind, remember the $6 trillion. It's a big number. We are barely scratching the surface of what I call as traditional organization security. And we are being inundated with new technologies that we really haven't figured out, that we really haven't thought about. And that's a major problem when you have $6 trillion. On top of that, what used to be script kiddies has expanded too. We now no longer get script kiddies. We get rogue nations, we get hacktivists, we get organized criminals, oh my God. Because they're like, come on guys, how easy is it to be Steve Jobs? Think about it. But being an organized criminal, $6 trillion, not too difficult. And that's the problem, they're going after the money. And our job as a community is to defend the good guys. But if we look at this problem in perspective, we realize that this is becoming a major problem. And not just that, the types of attacks, the sophistication of attacks, zero-day exploits, the trading of zero-day exploits now. Nation states used to keep nuclear weapons in this arsenal, now they keep zero-day exploits in this arsenal. Times have changed in just 15 years. But just as I talk about that, I want you to think about the Mirai botnet. We are barely dealing with networks, web applications, cloud, and here comes IoT security. If I won't tell you what it is because you should already know being in this room, unless you're in the wrong room. But that attack had 1.2 terabytes per second. And you know what was unusual? Well, obviously you know. Security cameras, IoT devices. How many of you have IoT devices at home? Look at that. How many of you have them protected? How many of you don't know? How many of you don't care? Lots of people don't care because, what are you going to watch? My front porch? Go ahead. But would you like to be aiding and abetting a crime? If I asked you, there's a bank robbery out there, I would like you to just hold the bag. That's it. Don't hold a gun. Don't kill anyone. Just hold the bag. Would you say yes? The community says, absolutely not, Jay. That's unethical. It's a crime. Are you out of your mind? But yet, the community does not mind if their devices, if their cameras are being used in a crime. Well, why the hell do I care? It's some person or company in a foreign nation or institution that's going to be compromised, and that's okay. As security professionals, this becomes our problem. Because we got to deal with the vendors, we have to deal with the homeowners, and we have to secure everything because it's not that the IoT devices will be secured, but if we don't secure the IoT device, the traditional network, and a traditional organization as we know would fail. And that brings us to a core question, penetration testing. And this is what my talk is all about. Penetration testing skills. The truth of the matter is, and I'm going to share with you some real life experience that I have personally encountered, penetration testing or lack of penetration testing professional skills happens to be one of the major challenges in our industry. Would you agree? Right? And if you don't, I hope to change your mind. Tough facts, facts that we don't want to admit. Penetration testing is now, guys, a commodity. So if you're waiting to be a billionaire by being the world's top penetration tester, I think you're slightly late to the game because prices have come down. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know this, but EC Council has a division called the EC Council Global Services. It's a consulting division. We're very select with the clients that we work with. We work with very specialized clients and very specialized requirements. But it's very often that when I meet them and I meet our colleagues, the 3 and 4 letter consulting firms around the world, and everyone would tell you, oh yeah, Jay, pen test? Nah, we don't do that. I mean, we leave that for the small mom and pop shops. Nobody wants to pay for it. Oh, it's just cheap stuff. We do specialized things. Oh, really? What do you do? Oh, we do ISO 27001. Wow. That's the serious thing that you do. But pen testing has become a commodity. And the question really is that if pen testing has become a commodity, why is that so? Is penetration testing an art or a science? And depending on which part of the equation you are, some of you will believe that, well, pen testing is really an art. I'm the artist. I paint the Mona Lisa of cybersecurity. You know what? I'm the best hacker in the world. And if you hired me and you paid me what I want, I can protect your organization. And others believe it's a science. Well, it's my belief it's actually a mixture of both, but more science than art. There are artistic elements within penetration testing. Social engineering is one example. You got to have an art to be able to social engineer. You just can't show up in someone's front door and say, hey, what's your password? Right? Ain't going to work, right? But if it's a science, then the question is, how are we practicing the science as an industry? How is this industry evolving and why has it become commoditized? Why is this science of penetration testing that plays such a critical role in the protection of cybersecurity of an organization has now become a commodity? Because if you talk to consultants, they go like, oh yeah, clients are not willing to pay. You know why? There are a lot of consultants out there that have used vulnerability scans and sold that as a pen test. And when the client says, well, why should I hire you as a penetration testing company? Well, look at our report, 3,000 pages. We are very detailed. What it is, a Nessa scan, ran overnight. Control find, control paste, control print, go to Kinko's, put on a suit. Here's my penetration test report. Say, oh my God, wow, so many problems. You guys are worth it. But actually, in actual fact, it's actually the exact opposite. It's not how thick your report is, it's how thin your report is. It's how concise your report is. It's how quickly you identify the severity of the vulnerability that your organization has and how it can be exploited and what is the risk to your organization. That is what it really is all about. But the problem is, it has become commoditized. And why is that so? Well, I like to say that one of the reasons why is there are a lot of prima donnas in our industry. Right? What I call geniuses in their mind. I am a genius, I'm a born genius. But they're the only one that recognize that they are a genius. Let me share with you a real example that I had. There's a multinational that wanted to implement comprehensive security, and it's a telco, right? I'll not name a telco, it's a telco, and they are in many countries. So they did something right, and they recognized that they did not have the talent to actually interview the talent, right? They had an RFP, but they did not know how to write an RFP, where to start with an RFP, and guess what? An RFP is out. How do I even select the correct consulting company? So they hired EC Council Global Services, and they said, we want you to come in and be our advisors, sit on our side. We want you to ask all the tough questions. So we said, okay. I was part of that project. And we went into the RFP process. We wrote the entire RFP. We brought some of our specialists, one from New York, one from DC. They flew down to this country, and we sat in a room. We spent about a couple of weeks writing the RFP, going through the entire stakeholder mapping, and then came the day when there was a live presentation. And they brought these various cybersecurity consultancies to come in and present why they should be awarded the entire project. And we had this one group that came up. They looked like hackers. I mean, I knew it immediately. The client said, oh, they don't look professional. I was like, that's professional, trust me, right? just because they have a ponytail and tattoos does not mean that, a penetration tester comes in a suit. Just trust me, these guys probably know what they're doing. And then we had a different group, looked similar, but they sounded weird. So I asked a couple of questions. I mean, standard questions, right? Okay, can you tell me, what's your evolution of penetration tester within your organization? How do you hire? How do you train? What kind of qualifications do you have? What kind of experience does your organization have doing a job of this magnitude, right, across this region? And the guy answers, oh, just trust me. I know what I'm doing. This is an RFP process. There's 16 people in the room. And I'm like, maybe he didn't understand what I said. I said, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's all about trust, right? I try to just relax and, ease the tension in the room. I said, no, but seriously, it's a question. And the guy said, well, I can't tell you. If I tell you, I'm going to kill you. I said, wow, is this real? So we had a coffee break. So over the coffee break, I go up to this guy and I say, hey, I really like to know. I mean, you guys were qualified. You're the finalists. Tell me, how do you do this? He says, Jay, me and my friends, we're on the dark net. I have connections. We have the tools. Really, you have tools. Are they professional tools? Are they commercial tools? Are they insured? We wrote them, and I've got some friends, They send me the tools. Trust me, we're the best. And I said, that's the problem with the industry, right there. The prima donnas. I'm not saying everyone, but there are a small section of the industry that actually practice this. And I've seen that firsthand with very large clients. And then the talk of what Sun Tzu said becomes very important. Every battle is won or lost before it's ever fought. Now, what does Sun Tzu really mean by that? Well, my argument is it's probably about preparation. It's probably about planning. It's probably about positioning. And as an organization, if we do not plan, if we do not position, if we are not able to be prepared to deal with penetration testing as a science, then we have a problem. And what I mean by the science, I mean the methodology. Penetration testing is not a game. There are lots of people that are very happy with shiny objects, right? Let me show you a couple of tricks that I have. I'm a penetration tester. I can show this stuff. But you know what's the real problem with the industry? I think we're focusing on the wrong side, and I think we're rewarding the wrong behavior. We are rewarding people who can show you shiny objects, who can write exploit code. Oh, wow, that's amazing. You're great, man. Come to Hacker Halter. I'll give you a keynote. Show me how that's done. Nothing wrong with that. But it's wrong if you think that's all we should be rewarding. Because it's a science, folks. We have a $6 trillion problem in front of us. And the only way to deal with the science is to deal with methodology, is to ensure that we have a properly documented, repeatable, proven process to defend an organization. It does not matter whether I did this entire test in China or Chicago. It does not matter whether I did this entire test in Malaysia or Malta. It should have a relatively similar result if I follow a similar process. And that's the problem. But in a world where we are inundated with fake positives, we are inundated with unlicensed commercial tools. Oh my God. Have you guys seen how many penetration testers use unlicensed tools, open source tools on commercial sites? And they start arguing with you that, of course, yeah, why? What's wrong with it? Of course, yeah, I use the open source tools, really good. Do you know what code was that written on? Do you understand Ruby? Do you understand what packet are you running through this organization? And you want to exploit this organization with an open source tool, really? What if the organization comes down? Right? Do you even know how to write a professional report, or are you just going to give a NASA scan out there? Now, important statement. I'm not saying everyone's like that. There are real great examples within our community that we look up to. But I'm saying the way we're rewarding this community and the way we're building the community for tomorrow needs to change. We have to do better in educating, in training, in requiring and mandating that our penetration testers meet a certain standard. And it's not about shiny objects. It's about getting your hands dirty. Very often, you know, pen testing is not about one person. It requires a team. You know, it's not done over a 24-hour period. It can take a week, it can take a month, depending on what you're dealing with. You know very well that the end result of pen testing is not like, yeah, guess what, I used this code, I got them. All right, job over. It's about using a methodology and applying the methodology from start to end. And then very often, you're going to be presenting in front of C-level executives. I presented in front of board of publicly traded companies, and let me tell you, they don't have a clue, at least in my example, what a vulnerability assessment was and what's a penetration testing. Am I protected? Is there a risk? Am I going to get hacked tomorrow? That's really what they want to know. But how do we produce a future generation of professionals? So, I want to quote another statement, right? Now, Sun Tzu wrote at a point when gender equality was not exactly where it should be. So I added the she, right? But Sun Tzu's actual quote is, "He who knows when to fight and when not to will be victorious." That is very applicable in our industry. Let me give you a real life example in case you think Jay's just making it up. We had a client, and this was one of our top penetration testers of EC Council, right? And we had a client. It was, again, a foreign nation. We do a lot of foreign work. And it was an oil and gas company. They represented maybe about, 40 or 50% of the GDP of the country. So it's a huge, huge oil and gas company. So we went in and met the CISO. And we said, okay, do you have a network map? Yeah, we have a network map. By the way, we're pretty good. I don't think you're going to find anything. Yeah, okay, all right, no problem. So what kind of a Windows server are you on? Oh, 2012. Okay, what service pack? What's a service pack? We don't want any service. And we were like, wow. This is 40 to 50% of GDP of the country. It's an oil and gas company. And the dude doesn't know what's a service pack. So imagine for a second if we send in a group of prima donnas, the EC Council prima donnas, hey, let me show you shiny objects. Let me show you how I'm going to hack. And we start exploiting on this network. Who's going to take the liability if this entire plant comes down? So, lesson from Sun Tzu is not about when to attack, it's when not to fight. That's the point when we decided, wait a minute. We call a guy who said, okay, let me give you a quick lesson, right? What exploitation really means. You don't want us to exploit your network, trust me. So here's what we're going to do. Let's create a dev environment. If you like, by the way, we've seen these thousands of times. We can tell you what exactly is going to happen. But for your benefit, if you like, we'll create a dev environment and we'll show you. The guy starts arguing. No dev environment. We paid you money. Do it on live. Show me. I want to show my boss. Hello? And these are actual experiences that I have personally faced. So the question really for us is not that do we have a labor shortage. It's not about creating 50,000, penetration testers out there, but it's about creating skilled penetration testers, those that really understand the science. If you take a look at every other job portal, it'll tell you one of the biggest, the most sought after cybersecurity requirement is always penetration testing. Sometimes they use penetration testing and ethical hacking interchangeably. I've met so many CISOs, give me an ethical hacker, pen tester, yeah, same thing. So it's completely different. You have to understand the difference. Jay, it's okay. And that's the entire problem. And if you look at the salaries that we're paying, it's going higher and higher. As the awareness goes up, organizations are going ahead and saying that we need pen testers, and I think that's a good thing. But the series of the experiences that I had got me thinking. It got me thinking about the NIST-NICE framework, right? You guys are all familiar with the NICE framework? KSAs, knowledge, skill, ability. Now let me make my point clear. Let's assume for a second we're training a sniper. We get somebody out from the industry, we say, okay, you have the skills, we want to make you into a professional sniper. Now, I'm not sure if the word professional and sniping goes together, but I'm inventing that. But let's assume for a second, because I'm speaking in a metaphor of penetration testing. What does knowledge mean? Knowledge means putting you in a room, showing you all the various guns, showing you the types of bullets, explaining to you wind conditions, explaining to you when to use what and why. What does skill mean? Skill means getting you to be able to shoot that range. Getting you to be trained so that you're able to hit the point. That's skill. You already have a knowledge, you apply the knowledge, and now you have skill. What does ability mean? Ability means being able to do that when you're being shot under enemy fire. Doing that as a reflex action. Now take a look at that within our industry, penetration testing. What does knowledge mean? Knowledge means able to understand the ecosystem, hacking tools, writing exploits, the consequences. What does skill mean? Skill means being able to apply that to a methodology in a controlled environment. And what does ability mean? Ability means being able to do that with a reflex action without really thinking about it, because you've done this so many times, you really understand what should be done, what should not be done, when to attack and when to step back. And that's really what KSAs mean. And then it got me thinking about EC Council, about the way we started, because obviously, EC Council is responsible. We're part of this community, this beautiful community. We are part of the problem and the solution. So it's funny when I read articles that says, oh, Jay, you know what, we have ethical hackers. We are looking for penetration testers, qualification, certified ethical hacker. Thank you very much, sir. It's part of EC Council. I'm proud of it. But ethical hackers of EC Council were never created to do pen tests. We trained them to be ethical hackers. It was a knowledge part. And yet there's so many experts out there, they say, oh yeah, you want to do penetration testing? Hire a certified ethical hacker. Certified ethical hackers are great. But they are at the phase where we teach them what shiny objects look like, what scanning looks like, what exploitation means, what you should do, what you should not do. And that's why we created ECSA, where we immerse the individuals with methodology. It's all about methodology, methodology, methodology. And then, to test your ability, we put you through the LPT master exam. For many years, LPT, and we had to be blamed for it, was not a practical examination. Last year, we changed. Last year, LPT got converted, and we invented the LPT master. And what did we do with the LPT master? We made sure it's a practical examination. That solved part of the problem. We were able to bring individuals out there that really understood what the threats were, how to apply methodology, and to be able to prove that they could do it by providing report. But that didn't solve the entire problem. And this came to my mind when the Equifax breach came out. If you look at that, honestly, I think that's very unfair. Not because I'm an attorney and I'm standing in front of you talking to security professionals. But I think that just because, the head, the CISO of Equifax had a degree in music, does not mean that she did not know what she was doing. Maybe she did, maybe she don't know. I was not part of Equifax, I don't know. But I think that using that as a single criteria is probably wrong. I think there's a lot more to it. There's so many professionals out there. I mean, take a look at Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. I mean, they didn't have degrees in engineering or in writing operating systems. They've done a phenomenal job. But that got me thinking, how are we dealing with that in the penetration testing industry? How is EC Council creating? Because we were part of the problem and a part of the solution. So here's what we did. We went to our customers. Because this really started bugging me. KSAs in pen testing, how can we make this better? How can we produce better penetration testers, and how can we help this community solve a tiny bit of a problem so that we go on the right side of the curve? And you know what we found? When we started talking to our clients globally, we realized they had 4 major challenges. First, Jay, how do I find good penetration testers? I want good people. And that was very common. They all want good penetration testers. What's a good pen tester? Well, that's a different discussion. Those that had good penetration testers wanted to keep them. Jay, I hire someone, I keep them in my system, somebody else wants to steal them. 30% salary hike, 40% salary hike. I'm not able to retain them. Some of them go out, start their own businesses. So, you know what? But I have got a compliance requirement. I need to do pen tests. So I'll go hire the next best person that I think was able to do the job. Second problem. Third, scalability. Gee, we are a global institution. It doesn't help me if I have a pen test in one country. I need them across 74 cities. I need them to be good. I need them to be proven. And fourth, trust. How do I know that this is not a prima donna? How do I know? Because yeah, they all come with certifications, including EC Council certifications, in all honesty. But how do I know? Yes, certification brings it a certain level. And plus, if your certification is an NC ISO compliance certification, then obviously trust level goes higher. But how do I know as an organization that I have somebody with a credential is not somebody who has shiny objects and is being able to just go out and write exploit codes? It's actually going to follow an entire methodology. This is what was a common problem. So we went back to our engineering team and we said, all right, this is a problem set. We need to tweak the LPT a little bit more. This is what we want. We want an exam that mimics a real scenario, real world scenario, so that we're able to see if they're able to deal with the challenges that they're going to face. We want an exam that focuses on the application of methodology. It's not about just shiny objects. It's not about you just writing exploit codes and saying, let me just go in, capture a couple of flags, and it doesn't matter how I go. It matters how you deal with it, because that's a real world environment. You can't capture one machine, you cannot get to the next. We want a challenge like that. We want to make sure that the trust element is dealt with, which means when they take the examination, they have to be proctored. And this was one of our biggest problems, because penetration tests cannot be done across 3 hours. So if you cannot do a pen test in 3 hours, how do I proctor you in 3 hours? Because pen tests can be done across 3 days, 5 days, a week. It depends. So how do we deal with the element of trust? Because if we cannot form the element of trust, then organizations are going to keep saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to hire the next best thing, people that I think can do the job, but just bring them on board. What do? I don't have a choice. So we have to solve the problem. And number 4, we need to validate professional report writing. Not scan reports, pen test reports. So that the executives are able to understand, they're able to comprehend, and they know exactly what to do, and you reduce the risk terrain. So my challenge to the EC Council engineering team is, I want 4 things. And trust me, they were tortured. Number 1, what it must not be. It must not be a non-stop exam. You cannot have an exam 24 hours. You know why? In real life, pen testers do get to sleep. They do get to get their cup of coffee. They do get to think. So we need to have an exam that mimics a real world environment. And yes, we understand limitations because professionals and penetration testers are employed. They cannot be in an exam for an entire week. We get that. So find a solution where you are able to mimic a real world environment, but yet give them sufficient sleep. But number 2, you cannot require physical presence, because this has to be scaled across the world. We operate in 140 countries, and our clients require a penetration tester anywhere in the world. So it cannot be something that, oh, please show up at our training center in London and then sit there for 5 days and take an exam. That's not going to work. We need to produce, if you look at the amount of penetration testing requirement that's out there, it's huge. We need to be able to produce penetration testers anywhere that a decent organization requires them. Number 3, it cannot be unproctored. You have to proctor it. Because it's so easy for me to take an exam and ask Kevin Cardwell, EC Council's instructor, hey, can you take the exam for me, please? I'll pay for it, my credit card, but you take the exam. How do I know if the paper that's issued in my name really belongs to me? And the trust factor is an important responsibility that the security community owes to the community at large, especially a certification body. A cert body like EC Council has its responsibility, a social and an ethical responsibility to ensure if somebody carries a paper, they're actually worth that paper. I mean, how often do you find doctors that carry a medical board examination and they are fake doctors because somebody else took an exam? But in our industry, we don't really frown upon that. In fact, we accept. In fact, we celebrate. And that's a problem. So our challenge was, it cannot be unproctored, has to be proctored. And they came back and said, boss, are you crazy? I mean, how do I give you all of that? Right? You want challenging real world, which means it's going to be 3 days to a week, yet you want it to be proctored. Nobody's going to enjoy being in front of the screen. It cannot be 24 hours. So what happens to working adults? And I said number 4, it cannot be minimally challenging. It needs to be extremely challenging. You know why? Trust factor. We want to make sure that organization employs somebody with that piece of paper, they can actually do their job, and they do it professionally. So, with that 4 challenges, I stand in front of you today introducing the EC Council's brand new LPT Master Certification. This certification that we are launching today, right here in front of you, mimics a real-world scenario. So we have done a study of what actually the world is facing, and we built an exam, which is, by the way, tweaked periodically. We built an exam that actually mimics a real-world scenario, which means that if you want to take this credential, you need to be able to deal with a real job and a real challenge that you're going to face. This is the world's first fully online, fully proctored, hands-on penetration testing exam. We've never done this before. And EC Council is launching it right here at Hacker Halted, so that now, if you want to take an exam, it's going to be proctored. And let me tell you what we did. We broke the pen testing assignment into 3 levels. Level 1, level 2, and level 3. Yes, everybody loves the 3-hour exam that I sit in, multiple choice. I get a piece of paper, I walk out as a pen tester, I get paid $180,000. I mean, that's great in an ideal situation. But you know what, guys? The world has changed from 2001. Clients require a lot more. The world requires a lot more. So candidates are put through 3 stages. Level 1, level 2, level 3. 6 hours each. Level 1 has 3 challenges. Level 2 has 3 challenges. Level 3 has 3 challenges, total of 9 challenges. If you don't qualify level 1, you cannot go to level 2. So we were very concerned. I was very concerned. The executive team was very concerned. How is this going to pan out? Because guess what? Now you're going to require people who are frowning to sit for a 3-hour exam to sit across an 18-hour exam. And you have to schedule because there's a proctor. Proctor's going to be watching you while you're doing your exam. They'll be watching your screen. So it's not much a chance of you asking somebody else to take the exam. And then we want you to submit a report. So we knew we were dealing with a very small community, right? It's a funnel system. The community that actually flowed up will be able to deal with it. And what do we test? Level 1, web application exploitation. You can't get through web application, don't bother. Level 2, network level exploitation. Level 3, OS level exploitation. We want you to write code. We want you to be able to reverse engineer. We want you to be able to write exploits. So you can't just come with shiny objects and say, you know what, I'll just pass through this, I'll write a crappy report and I'll be a pen tester, I'll go out. Not going to be so easy. This has been validated by an entire board. So we formed an entire LPT board. There's a tremendous amount of debate. And then you will have to submit a report. We give you 45 days. Take your findings, submit the report, professionally validated. So what was the result? So we did a beta test. This is really funny. Normally, when people fail, whose fault do you think it is? Candidate or certification body? Cert body, right? When you fail, it's the cert body. Crappy exam, oh, they got it all wrong. We were surprised. So we went out and we had a criteria. We don't want anyone that beta tests that does not have a minimum of 6 years experience in penetration testing. They must have been doing this for a living. So we went out on LinkedIn, we went out to our clients and we say, you know what, if you've got a top guy, girl, whoever, send them, we will pay for it. It won't cost you a dime. We're doing a beta test, we'll pay for it. And we had 2, so I'm just showing you a sample, we had 2 candidates that failed. They came from an American payment processing company. One had 6 years experience, second had 8 years experience, both failed. They could not get through level 1. And why did they give up? They gave up, well, you can read, this is exactly verbatim from what they've told us, because the lab environment with various systems with different approach and different difficulty level was difficult, and it was difficult figuring out really tough exploits and writing the exploit codes on your own rather than using publicly available exploit code as always. And that was our entire challenge. And we could not get through it. but they came back and they said, thumbs up, we will come back. And then we had candidates that actually succeeded. And this was a manager who've done this for like, I don't know, 8 or 10 years. And the bottom line, this person loved the entire exam and says, I kept kicking myself about what a mistake I did. I did not follow methodology. And I realized, oh my God, that's my mistake. And it got me to think and apply the methodology. So, folks, as a responsible third body, it's important that we keep innovating, that we look at the problem set and we try our best to solve problems within our realm. And as a third body, it's our responsibility, EC Council's responsibility, to be able to build professionals that are able to hit the mark, so that we are able to have responsible professionals out there that's able to make this world a safer place to be in. And we would like to invite you and all of the attendees on our live telecast that's going on right now. If you think you're up to this, we will pay for it. Go to lpdmaster.com and apply for the EC Council Fellowship and take the exam yourselves, because we want to hear from you. We want to ensure that we're able to bring this to a mark that's absolutely respectable. And we've already done this with about a handful of people, I think 30 or 40, but we would now like to expand this to second round of beta, and we hope that you truly enjoy this. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.